Hi everyone, welcome to Seal of Approval, episode 11. Sorry that we running a little bit late. So as you can see, there's only 3 people in, and there's supposed to be 4. But we have Short Fat Otaku trying to join, but somehow he's the only person I've ever come across with this problem. But his microphone just is not working or being detected by StreamYard at all. So no idea. He's going to try and join as soon as he can. But in the meantime, I should introduce the other Seal panel. So joining me tonight is, of course, the trusty co-host that is Scrump. How are you?
Hello there. Let's make sure my microphone's not muted. Can everybody hear me okay?
Your mic is fine. You're the one. Yours is good.
Good. Ironically, last week when we were recording a dump, it was my audio that went to pot because it kept auto-selecting my webcam mic, which sounds terrible. But yeah, Dev's being a boomer again. He'll be in if he can. We finally got him here in physical presence after weeks of trying, but unfortunately, it seems that he's brought his boomer technical issues with him.
It's like a curse.
He is extremely cursed. He's an extremely cursed person.
This is literally the third attempt.
Yeah, this is the third attempt. He's here. He
was in the private bit. He's gone now. He went as soon as I said, "Well, this is the third attempt." So I think I might have just offended him. But we've been trying for ages. It's it is like a curse. It's he had to drop out for the other ones. Finally, get him on. It doesn't work. But we do still have another guest anyway, which is returning guest, British Knight.
Hello, the non-boomer guest here.
How are you
tonight?
Thank
you, British Knight, for saving us. And
yes. Yeah. So how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. Thanks for having me once again.
No problem. So so the show can still go on whilst Dev just gets everything sorted out on his end. But until he gets that done, I should introduce some very special friends of ours who have been dying to meet you all. It's the Seals of News. The Seals of News are back.
It's a good selection this week.
It is. There is a whole collection of trusty seals waiting to deliver their news. So
I could just be Dev, can I? It's hey, I can see what what is it? God damn it, I can't remember. He'll be talking about how he can see what the Seals reboot. I think there'll be a few yeah, I can see what the Seals reboot. He's he's took really. He's a walking stereotype. He is the eternal leaf, and he can't defend himself because he can't get his audio to work. Anyway.
So we have 4 news seals. So we have Britannia, we have Kenosha. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing that right. Is it Kenosha?
I think it's Kenosha, yeah.
Yeah, Kenosha sounds right. So I think Kenosha is probably going to be the hottest topic. So we'll wait to try and get Devin for that one because I'd like to hear his takes. But we also have the gay train, and we have Jessica Simpson. We have Jessica Simpson. But why do we have Jessica Simpson? Why would Jessica Simpson be on Rose of Dawn's channel on Seal of Approval?
Has the mid-2000s come back into fashion? Has it finally become retro? It's oh man, I miss 2005.
I mean, these are fairly nostalgic seals, but remember, these are the seals of news. They bring forth relevance to the current day and week that we find ourselves in. So,
sorry. Random feeling old tangent, but I've just realized that 2005 is as far from here as 1985 was from 2000, and now I feel weird.
It's really strange. I remember back in 2005. That was I got the Xbox 360 the day it came out, right? And the other day I was having a look through my gamer profile because it's the same. I have the same gamer profile since all the way back from the original Xbox. Yep. So I have a membership of 16 going on 17 years. And so I can see games that I played in 2005. I think the furthest back game that it goes is like I think it's Fight Night Round 3 that I played twice in 2006. So like I haven't touched that game in nearly 15 years, and it's still on my profile, which is really, really weird. Like that makes me feel old.
I think the law now has to be there that we are physically incapable of getting dev on, because he doesn't seem to be able to get this working at all, which I can't see how, because it's like a HTML5 backend. It's really, really simple. But anyway, he is cursed. He is a cursed man, and you may not be seeing dev at this rate. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I really hope we can get him on. Get him on. Miss him.
I do hope he gets over.
It's not our fault that he's a technological black hole.
Well, before we dive into the seals, I can see that a super chat's come through from Matthew Ivy with the $5. 3 commies got shot this week in the US. Lewis just got out of court, putting another away. It's been a good week. Lilith done spurging yet? Oh, what was Lilith spurging about?
I don't know. I don't look at Twitter anymore. And Twitter is just all spurging all the time. So I have no idea. I'm blissfully unaware.
I know that Lilith was talking about the, I think it was the recent black guy who was shot 7 times by police officers. Maybe Matthew's referring to that.
I have no idea. I have not been following that. I'm sorry. I've been busy.
Well, we're going to be talking about Kenosha just in a bit. But British Knight, would you like to pick yourself a seal of news?
Right, okay. So I don't think it would be very British of me if I didn't choose Britannia. So let's go with that, shall we? Especially considering it's more relevant to us 3 than perhaps Dev.
That's a fair shout. So why has this baby harp seal brought along Britannia?
So apparently this the BBC have decided that late night in the proms may no longer play patriotic British songs like Rule Britannia, because it apparently invokes imagery of slavery and colonialism, and this was mainly as the result of a opera singer of color from Finland making a complaint regarding having to do the proms while the song was still on the list of songs that would be sung.
Sorry. Haven't they also talked about Land of Hope and Glory as well?
Yes, yes, they're both. Yeah, they do fall under the same thing. Britannia is the easiest thing to write on a seal. Just going what you said about the opera singer who the BBC got in from Finland. I was reading today that she's made, I don't know whether she made an announcement or whether it might have just been her friend saying it, but allegedly she wasn't the reason why it was cut. She apparently did not make that request.
Okay. Okay then. I know that she did apparently make comments on it, but if she didn't ask for it to be banned, then fair shout, fair enough.
Yeah.
If she's not being censorious, then I'm not going to complain if she has a negative opinion of a patriotic song from a country she's not from.
Well, everyone's baffled by this. This kind of came out of nowhere. There's no one openly been calling for it. It looks like that's what I've heard, and if that's not true, I can't find who's initiated this. There's been no campaign against it. They just decided it.
There was this is kind of something which I wanted to touch on, actually. So you're right in that there hasn't been any kind of open campaigning for this from, let's say, the big self-censored, self-labeled anti-racist groups, say for example BLM UK. They weren't campaigning on the point of let's get rid of Rule Britannia, let's get rid of Land of Hope and Glory, that they're triggering or anything like that. And so you've had people like Ash Sarkar making that argument. She put out a tweet where she said the Rule Britannia brouhaha is completely made up. No anti-racist org has asked for it to be dropped. What's played at the proms has never been a major concern of Black Lives Matter. And yet, those facts don't seem to matter much to those media organizations covering the Furo. So she's technically right in that I've not seen the major movements calling for these songs to be banned. However, it is still notable that it did happen. And forgive me if I'm wrong, but was there not an article in like a BBC magazine of like a producer calling for these songs to be removed just a few short months ago?
There was evidence of that, yes. I think it seems to be an internal struggle. It seems to be a push from within. There was also, it's funny them saying that no one called for it, but now that people are calling for it to stay, there's, I don't know if you saw what the Labour MP said.
Or was this the one he had to go at Jacob Rees-Mogg?
Yes, it was.
And he talks about it as being like, what did he say?
He was very explicit when he said. He said that anyone who likes Rule Britannia is a, and I quote, shitbag racist wanker.
I see.
And he's not the only one to express those kinds of views. Like, we've got Songs of Praise producer that I've just put up, the patron of Daily Mail. So she sent out a string of tweets basically comparing Rule Britannia to Nazis singing about gas chambers, with a complete misunderstanding of what the song itself is about. And she's someone who is, a part of the BBC. She is a part of the BBC's culture. You've also had David Baddiel complaining about Rule Britannia, calling it a cunts anthem. You had, I think it was Ahmed Jali saying that it needs to be replaced with, a song that's more representative of Britain, about how, people are going to be living in caves because of a no-deal Brexit. And so there was that kind of very elitist viewpoint being put on this from people with connections to the BBC. So as much as there might not be anti-racism organizations calling for this removal, there are people in prominent positions who hold views that this song should be censored, and they are able to use their sway in order to get it done. And so pushing the argument onto, well, nobody's calling for it, is a bit of a red herring. It's a similar situation to the banning of Little Britain episodes, League of Gentlemen, the Germans episode of Faulty Towers, and so on and so forth.
Or just the blanket banning of the Mighty Boosh, which I'm still mad about.
And bring
me back my Boosh.
And all of that, this is not stuff that people have campaigned on, because even the radical left rarely makes such especially the people in prominent positions who actually have the eyes on them. It's very rare that they make points which they know they're not going to be able to win over the masses. They like to be able to run away from it and make it a bit of a Mott and Bailey argument and say nobody's calling for this to be banned, but then you have all these kind of people that you might not really be paying attention to, but they're still the ones who are getting this pushed, and the likes of Ash Sarkar don't push back against it.
Well, I think the real problem here is that there was discussion, someone must have said it. That's the thing. This didn't come out of nowhere, and there were people reacting. People must believe it, because there is there are people like the Labour MP who we literally just talked about. He's right there, using very explicit language. Yeah. I can't even remember the guy's name. He's a very irrelevant Labour MP.
Neil something, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was Neil Coyle. That's it.
That's him. Yes.
Yeah, he said that anyone who likes the song, he said Brexiteers were shitbag racist wankers, like I said. He also said anyone who likes Rule Britannia is some kind of shitlicker, is literally what he said. He's being a bit weird.
It does seem to be that this, like you said, it seems to be more of an internal thing in the BBC, and perhaps influenced by left-wing politicians and figures of prominence who do seem to be more than happy that this is taking place. But I do think that they see it. Like, I don't think this story about it being this this Finnish opera singers come out of a vacuum. I think this perhaps is a sign that they've tried to palm off the blame on this Finnish person of color in order to, because here's the thing, a foreign person of color complaining about a British patriotic song in this day and age is not all that unbelievable.
No.
So I think they very much have taken advantage of the fact that people would absolutely believe that had taken place in order to palm off the blame on something else, on someone else for something they had done.
Yeah, and I also wanted to kind of highlight other people who, let's go back and see that you sent me this link, but like actually already had it lined up.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's an actual letter in here from Adelheid Russenberger, who that traditional British name, who says symbols matter. They act as dog whistles and means of legitimizing discriminatory ideologies. The substance of racism in the UK is underpinned by an inaccurate nostalgia for Great Britain, which spread its civilizing influence across the world in the 19th century and stood alone against the powers of European fascism in the 20th century. The jingoistic, flag-waving Rule Britannia of the last night of the proms feeds into this false narrative, implying that to be British is to be a white imperial victor.
I'm sorry, they're called Adelheid Russenberger.
Adelheid Russenberger.
Oh dear. Oh no.
Adelheid Russenberger.
That sounds like a troll, but it's not. The actual message itself isn't a troll. So, no. Oh dear. Oh no.
This British white savior, again. That narrative. I mean, it kind of reminds me almost of David Lammy with with his own like white savior. And speaking of Lammy, he's tried to claim that like Boris Johnson was trying to cause a kind of like a culture war over this, but a lot of all of this happening is down to narratives like Adelheid's here. And guess where that comes from? Guess where someone talking about the substance of racism in the UK? Guess what side of the political aisle Adelheid is likely to belong to? And then you wonder why people are pushing for the song to be banned. I still can't get over that name.
I can't either. Do you reckon I could get them to do my taxes?
Adelheid Russelberg. Is that a German name?
Yeah, maybe at some point. I don't know if they had to leave Germany at some point or not.
Oh no!
I see what you're doing.
I'm sorry, that is like a meme.
They just need to put out a disclaimer. There is no anti-Semitism on this channel, YouTube. I do not condone anti-Semitism.
Oh, come on, they're called Adelheid Russenberger. It's just, sorry, that's really tickled me. But yeah, the point they're making is very invalid. And like I said, the thing is there has had to have been discussion about this to spark this. Like this didn't. It's weird that they're saying that the media coverage of it invented it when they're talking about this is a very serious prospect. A lot of people are welcoming this.
Yeah. Oh yes, again, like the lady from Songs of Praise, comparing it to some Nazis singing about gas chambers. Like there's as much as there might be prominent people on the left saying this isn't an argument we're making, there are people on there who are making that argument. And where do you think that the ideas for this come from? It's really disingenuous to try and push this away as being a, it's almost like a cope, in that they're trying to say that this argument isn't happening. This is just a you thing. We're not saying this. This is you making it up. It's like, well, no, it isn't, because this person, that organization is listening to this narrative and doing something about it to like the massive detriment of a massive amount of British people who have got on the iTunes chart, at least. Land of Hope and Glory is currently number 1. Rule Britannia is number 2.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
And that's not the only chart. like loads
I
of
think what's
charts.
happening here. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
go on. Yeah,
No,
it's
no, no.
it just unloads of stuff. I think what's happened here is that we've seen them test the waters for it. They put forward a proposal. It's been roundly rejected. And now they're pretending the quote unquote right invented it because they've upset the average, very rather patriotic British person quite heavily.
Yeah.
This is like this coupled with the MP's reaction is, I think, a way to keep the North in kind of like a Hale Thatcher kind of era that seems to be in now. It's not going to win you. It's not going to win you support, in the flag waving North, because the North of England is quite patriotic. Love me country, love me beer,
love the goo-boo.
Simple.
The only foreign goo-boo, but he is the best striker in the league. So,
but that's the thing though. It's it is very much like the song getting that high. The charge is very much a case of North FC nationalism. If you like,
it's what I've been referring to a long time as Greg's nationalism. Which, of course, is coined by Turning Point Greg's, which was the greatest Twitter account that ever existed. We know this to be true. Psycho Ben, and for those just tuning in, SFO had what we call epic boomer moment, and couldn't get his mic to interface with the very basic software we're using here. He can't get it to work with StreamYard, which is no offense for us, but like the kiddie pool of like streaming together platforms.
Oh, it
basically is. Most people use the replacement for kind of Hangouts on Air. Google Hangouts.
It's a simplified version of Google Hangouts. Like Google Hangouts was a lot more awkward than this. This is like the most idiot-proof streaming software out there. And
sure,
you can't get it to work.
SFO did delete System 32. Unfortunately, he fell for them. No.
So is Dev still going to try and get on?
I think he's given up at this point. He can't. It's working with Chrome, but it's not working with Streamlabs specifically, and it would take probably hours to troubleshoot why. So the mic itself seems to be working. StreamYard seems to not like it, so we may have to get Dev on via Discord at some point, or maybe record something with him, or I'm gonna have to fly up to Canada and actually, physically remove him to somewhere where technical support can be given in person. We'll see.
His curse just lives on. So with that, is there anyone got anything else to add on Rule Britannia?
I'm good.
Here's the thing. I think that there is a lot of underrated. For anyone who's not from the UK, might be interested in actually listening to some British patriotic songs. There are other ones than Rule Britannia, even though that's the most famous. I'd recommend I Vow to Thee, My Country, and Jerusalem, respectively.
I was about to say I Vow to Thee, My Country. That's my favourite patriotic song by far. And in fact, this is going to sound really, really stupid, but the best rendition of I Vow to Thee I've probably ever heard is from Battlefield 5. So, my boyfriend was playing it a couple of months ago, and like when you boot up, because I've never actually touched it, but when you boot up the game, you kind of have like these little segments of like different sides throughout the war. Like you fly as you play as the Germans a lot in it, funnily enough. But it kind of ends with like this kind of slow and like subdued rendition of I Vow to Thee with this one girl singing it. It is absolutely, like, especially when they kind of have like, like bits of like Spitfires flying over and stuff like that, and they have the song playing. It's actually like as much of a clusterfuck as that game is, it gets that dead right. It's absolutely gorgeous. And so, I recommend after this, if you want to listen to a version of it, it's on iTunes, it's on YouTube, and I think it's on other things as well. But like it's really, really worth a listen. So that's Battlefield 5's rendition of I Vow to Thee, My Country. It is amazing.
Yeah, it's a song that never fails to move me. No, like when on the occasion that I feel patriotic enough to listen to it, which you do have to rejuvenate your patriotism every once in a while. especially when you keep hearing shit stories like this.
But there's something nice about it. Like, I'll admit, I've never been too much one for any kind of nationalism so much. Especially for a long time, I didn't really care too much about the UK, but it was mostly because I found it boring. Like, I found the country a very mundane place to live, although that's because I grew up here, and so it's what I'm used to. But like, only over the last like couple of years, there has been a part of me that thinks actually this isn't too bad a place to live. I mean, there's so much that we moan about, and I will openly admit that I moan about a load of stuff as well. But there's a lot to be proud of what this country is and what it stands for. And like, you know, I think it's nice to have something which can bring people together. It's why I'm a fan of, well, the Queen, at least, and Prince William. But like, the idea of there being a royal family, I think, is a good thing. And so like, there is a bit of patriotism within me, and I do quite like, I like the Union Jack, and I like the Welsh flag, the Draig Goch, which is, I still think, is actually the coolest flag in the world because it's a dragon.
It's got a dragon on it, guys. It's got a dragon.
It's a dragon. It's a dragon. It's the coolest.
More and more, I would go on and describe myself as a Greg's nationalist, but I think we have more news items. So
I think it's a tad ironic that the flag of England is the George's flag of St. George, and then the flag of Wales has a dragon on it, and St. George is famous for slaying a dragon in his story.
Boo. Boo. So another super chat just came through from Reed Lavity with the $5. Thank you. Songs like these make me proud to be British, and I'm from New Jersey. Although real talk, being a Brit would be awesome. And there is something kind of cool about being Brit, really. Like when you deep down, when you think about it, it's like, as much as there's kind of negativity from the left about like everything is bad when it comes to being British, like they can't really tell you anything about British values, what it means to be British. They will come out with all sorts of weird, vague buzzwords that don't really kind of stand for anything when it comes to a British sense of identity. But like I quite like being British now. I like it. It makes me, it's just something to bring people together. But anyway, Scrump, would you like to pick a seal of news?
Gay train! Let's get on the gay train. Chugga chugga choo choo, motherfuckers.
Come on, ride the train.
Oh, God, go. No.
So, tell us about
the train, Christ.
Tell us about the gay train.
Oh my God! It's the UK's first ever Pride train, staffed by all LGBT crew, which technically should be illegal because surely they had to discriminate who they put on the. Anyway, UK employment law aside, as we're seeing here, it's making its kaleidoscopic maiden journey.
So you can see that they have a copy of the the infiltration flag, which I like to refer to it as now, where they have like the arrow slowly taking over the rainbow.
Oh God, they do. They have the they've got like the stripe where Black Lives Matter wiped its ass on the flag. Yeah.
It basically is. It's full on entryism in flag form. It is an arrow symbolizing, right? So you had all these different stripes that were there to represent unity and like different parts that kind of encompass all LGBT people. I mean, like the actual meaning of the pride flag is very, very cringy when you actually look into it. But you can still it's still a thing. It is still something which can stand for it. But then when you kind of add like the adding of the black, brown, and the pink and blue into that arrow, like these are very politically put in there.
Have you seen sometimes certain news outlets and certain there's an ongoing thing where someone keeps putting the fucking Palestinian flag as a wedge into it, and people keep using it and deleting it. It's quite funny.
Wow.
Oh no, it's going on.
Well, these activists should actually take it to Palestine and let them know that they've been included in this flag. I'm sure the Palestinians would be very, very, they'll be very happy. I mean, I'm sure they would give them like a great tour of the they'll take them up somewhere quite nice and high in the West Bank, give them a nice view of everything.
It's a tangent rant, but the whole wedge in the flag really fucking annoys me.
Yeah.
Because the rainbow is meant to say, look, it represents everybody, and now we've got to a point where people are so tribalistic and so obsessed with symbols that they're like, no, this rainbow, there is a metaphor for representing, all the spectrums of humanity. That's not good enough anymore. We have to add some more stripes to it for these specific symbols, specific people. Oh, by the way, it's not about sexual identity anymore. It's also about racial identity. It's just like, well, it stands for nothing then. It literally stands for nothing. It is a flag of just appeasement. That's all it is. It's a flag of political appeasement and like designed by committee. It's awful.
Yeah. So these are the meanings of the individual stripes. So the red stands for life, the orange stands for healing, the yellow stands for sunlight, the green stands for nature, the blue stands for serenity, harmony, artistry, and the purple one is spirit.
Oh, so there's no heart on there then?
No, there is another one which kind of gives a bit more of a thing. So it's life and sexuality, healing and friendship, vitality and energy, serenity and nature, harmony and artistry, spirit and gratitude.
Power of.
It is. I mean, like, again, I did say that it was a pretty embarrassing flag, but
yeah, that's somewhere between like Cereal Box Decoder Ring and My Little Pony is where that is.
Yeah, it is embarrassing, but it was still in itself all encompassing. Now, I did just see that apparently the black stands for diversity and the brown stands for inclusion, but that's kind of retcon. That is a retcon. That was not what it originally stood for. Like those
not part of the original law.
No, those stripes were for black and browns very specifically.
Being made to pay some reparations. Anyway, sorry. Think of the gay train. I've ranted enough.
What I was going to say, and I might be thinking a tad too much into it, but over the past few years, we've noticed a great presence of Palestine flags at LGBT events.
Yeah,
like Pride.
a lot. Yeah,
and this new flag looks shockingly similar to the Palestine flag, if I do say so myself.
No, but like I said, there are versions of it that resemble it deliberately.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It just seems oddly specific, that design, when they could have just added more stripes in the way it was originally designed.
Yeah, kind of just quickly touching on that. You will see a lot of things like Palestinian flags at Pride events, because whilst the argument that like Pride was originally a protest, they are right in that, but it then kind of became more of a celebration of LGBT culture, and there are still kind of segments of the radical left that want it to be purely a protest, but they want it to be a protest on their terms. And naturally, Palestine comes into it a lot. But something I had noticed over the last couple of years at London Pride in particular, one group which isn't particularly welcomed there by the more radical activists are the ex-Muslims.
The quite heavily shunned because they're seen as collaborators with the British right in certain senses. Yes,
so they as far as I'm aware, the ex-Muslims still they're still in it. They were there the last time I was at Pride, and I do remember people being like, "Oh, I can't believe that the ex-Muslims are here." It's like, bloody hell. Like, these people aren't allowed to be in the Pride. Like,
no, they're apostates from the left, essentially. It's funny. Yeah. It's funny that the LGBT movement has been sucked into this whole feeling that Islam is part of somehow the left. It's really weird because it's not at all.
No, it isn't.
Like the whole stuff in Birmingham showed that with the whole "don't teach our kids about gay shit."
But then you also had a lot of the, like, if you looked at the kind of media that was on at the time, particularly from the gay press, a lot of it didn't actually mention how it was majority Muslim protesters against the teaching of same-sex issues in schools. They would often report it as being like, they would either just mention the Christian right with no mention of Islam at all, or they would mention groups from different faiths. They would never specifically talk about Islam, which is very, very interesting when you consider like the common kind of Muslim community attitudes to LGBT people, even in the UK. Like there is a majority, like from the last time I saw, there were surveys which were ran, there was still kind of like a majority unfavorable view of LGBT people from the wider Muslim community. That's not to say that, you know, all Muslims think that way. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just pointing out that there is a kind of conservative, very religious group that, surprise, surprise, has negative feelings about LGBT people as a majority. Just like you would find in a lot of other conservative, deeply religious movements.
Yeah, but it's well, there's still polls that show that a large percentage of Muslims want Sharia law, and Sharia law, by extension, means execution of gay people. So
yes, it does.
Draw your own conclusions from that. It's pretty evident.
Yeah, it is. But again, I know we've gone off on a bit of a tangent here, but at the same time, I still think a lot of it is kind of relevant. I mean, like not many people really talk about the flag all that much, and how quickly it's been like used by big institutions. I mean, the revised design, I believe it came from a university student in Philadelphia.
Well, they originally did add the 2 extra little stripes on the bottom, like one of the commenters was suggesting. But that eventually became like a wedge because people thought it was too stripy. It just did look weird as well. It did look off kilter.
Yeah, so there was some of them have like the black and brown stripes right at the top. Again, you know, bit subliminal there, isn't it? But like that design isn't really all that old, but it's been very quickly adopted, and it seems like someone saw the fact that they were able to now add lines to this flag that's been around for decades. You're like, oh, now we can add our issue into it. And so I'd be interested to know what stripes are going to be added next.
The wedge is going to slowly grow. It's just going to slowly take over. It's going to be amazing. It's like a literal metaphor of the wedge issues that certain groups have used to basically take over the activist space of the left. Yeah, like we are seeing that LGBT activism is being strongly now overshadowed by specifically like black nationalist activism. And people are being made to kind of be deferent to them, and a lot of people are getting unhappy about it. And oof,
and it's quite interesting when you see some people from like within like black communities in the United States when they're actually kind of a lot more socially conservative, who then see like kind of black issues being pushed as LGBT issues when they're thinking like we don't actually want this. Because I've seen quite a few videos with these aren't black people who are involved in politics. They're just kind of normal people from the community, and they're very critical of how this kind of like they've been pushed into this kind of intersectionality argument. It was like being lumped in with LGBT when they want nothing to do with it.
I have a question for you, British Knight, though.
What's that?
Would you ride the gay train?
Would I ride the gay train? I ride the gay train already. Like, so I don't think I got on that train a long time ago, I'm afraid. But speaking on this issue, I do think that
someone said loop the tunnels. Bravo.
Oh, brilliant. Let's kind of go through like some of these comments real quick. Right. So the original rainbow flag was exclusionary because it only was inclusive of everybody. Yes, that's literally it. Being fully inclusive was not inclusive enough because it didn't single out people. That was the point of the black and brown lines. They were specifically to single out groups. It's why they're also adding the trans colors on there, because that is specifically for trans people. That's why all of this is being added onto it. That is the motive behind it. This idea of, oh no, the black, it stands for diversity. No, that was not what was originally pushed. That is fake news, my friend.
Anyway, sorry, British Knight. You were saying, I think you were saying about the train itself, though.
Yes,
literally, not figuratively.
What I was going to say was that I think what I was going to say, like relating to what Scrump was saying before, less about the train, but the next stripe, I fear that the next stripe, or then a couple of stripes down the line, is legitimately going to be maps minor attracted people.
Oh God, you think they're going to go for the whole pedophile acceptance thing again? They keep
Yeah,
trying.
but that's the thing. It's not a recent thing. They've been doing it since like the 70s.
Well, yes, it is. It's been around for as long as the kind of the mainstream LGBT movement, or the mainstream gay movement, because that was how it originally started. Regardless of the revisionism, it was the gay movement.
It was the Gay Liberation Front. A lot of people tell you to Google the USS Liberty. That's more of a meme, but seriously, Google Harry Hay. Google Harry Hay and Nambla if you want to see the founding of the gay rights movement by a unapologetic for many decades pedophile. It's quite disturbing.
Yeah, there's a lot of these people who have kind of high connections within the movement. You know, not calling this person a paedophile, to make that clear in case anyone thinks I'm slandering him in that way. But Peter Tatchell does have some very weird views when it comes on to consent. And he's been recorded on film saying so. Like, he was talking about an acquaintance of his who is like in his 50s, and I believe when he was about it's between the ages of 9 and 13, and he had a relation with an older man, and so effectively he was raped. I mean, well, not effectively, he was raped. And he'd said to Tatchell, "Oh, actually, I don't look back on it in a bad way." And so Tatchell tried to make the argument of, well, this person, it didn't damage this person. So, it isn't always a black and white case of this doesn't damage people. But then you got to think, this is seriously a 9-year-old having, or a 9 or 13-year-old having relations with a grown adult. That is going to mess somebody up. Even if they don't fully realize it, that kind of thing is going to really mess them up.
That's very much the narrative that Nambla took as well, that they said that, relationships between young boys and older men is, oh, it happened to me, it didn't hurt me. It's like, no, it did hurt you. It turned you to a fucking pedophile. You're perpetuating your own abuse and haven't contextualized it properly. You absolute psycho. Please seek help before you harm someone.
Yeah, you never forget that shit. It never goes away.
No, I mean, it is abuse. It's absolutely abuse.
Oh no, it's like Stefan Smith said. Some would say it depends on the child, but
oh God,
that will never go away.
Oh God.
Anyway,
it kind of reminds me of. I think we'll talk.
Sorry, go on.
Let's talk about the actual gay train, because that was starting to go down a little bit of a dark path.
Yeah.
So a pride train has been launched by Avanti West Coast that will be staffed by an all LGBT plus crew. So it comes 2 months after the end of Pride Month. It encompasses all the colours of the Progress Pride flag, making a poignant statement about the inclusion of trans people who are already included in the fucking rainbow and already have been included in the rainbow, and people of colour who are included in the rainbow provided that they are LGBT anyway. Again, I know we're going back to the flag, but it's pointless. The original colours were there to be all inclusive. You're adding colours that are specifically for certain groups, saying they're not included otherwise. But I do love this statement by the train manager. This is about being accepted for who I am and representing the LGBT plus community we serve across our network. Being a part of the UK's first all LGBT plus crew is a sign of the steps we're taking towards a more inclusive, diverse and equal society. And I'm proud to be involved today. You are a part of a crew that was only LGBT people. How is that inclusive? You're all being put on, you're being segregated from everyone else and put on a train. How is it diverse? You're all LGBT. There is no diversity there.
I'm wondering if this is an op. Is this secretly based? Where's the train actually going? Do we know?
I believe
it's a two-way trip.
It operates from London to Birmingham, Manchester, Liverpool, Wales, and Scotland. Oh no, wait, that's just the company itself.
Yeah, it's actually going to Siberia.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, is this a ploy? Is this some sort of 4D chess move? Is this the start? Stonewall, right? Is Johnson gonna start rounding up the facts now? Is that what this is?
So it just seemed to be at Euston. But that's kind of about it. I'm honestly surprised that it isn't going to Brighton. But like, apparently the public are being given the chance to name the train as well.
Oh, wow,
I just want it to just be given like just the most kind of.
It's going to be called. No. If they leave it as an open poll and they leave suggestions in there, it's going to be called AIDS. I reckon it'll end up.
I want 4chan I really want 4chan to find
all about the AIDS train.
Or it'll get something completely ridiculous, like it'll be Boaty McBoatface's land faring brother, train phase.
Oh god, I hated the Boaty McBoatface thing so good. It was the stupidest, like it was just so dumb. And then every time there was any kind of new competition to name something like, oh, we're gonna do Boaty McBoatface, it's like it was not very good. Like it was something that you might laugh at for a few minutes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hey, did you guys hear about the Polish version of this though?
No.
Yeah, it stops just outside of Krakow. I'm stealing that from the chat, but
is that in the chat?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Oh my god. That's quite special. So so Scrump, would you get on the gay train?
I would get on the gay train, yes. If it runs on time, you know, if they're able to run the trains on time, you know, that might change my view a little bit, you know.
Or if it was just completely manned by femboys.
If it was the femboy train, you know.
I'll get on immediately.
Different story. If they've got like some sort of femboy Hooters special service. Oh, anyway, I think we're starting to meld into one of the other topics back there about the whole racial takeover thing, because we have a big story this week to go through.
We do. British Knight, do you have anything else to add on the gay train?
Well, not really, but I'll just say, if they do have a femboy, if they have a femboy car, I will use the gay train.
But not if they don't.
Yeah.
No.
We're demanding femboys on the gay train. This is our stand.
Femboy inclusivity.
So that's two of the seals that have delivered their good news. Now, do we want to jump straight onto Kenosha? Or do we want that to be the finale and see what Jessica Simpson has been?
We'll briefly touch on Jessica Simpson because I have not got a huge amount longer, I'm afraid.
Really?
I've got maybe another half an hour, so.
Okay. Well, in that case, we'll try and get through things as soon as possible. So, Jessica Simpson has had a little bit of a makeover, which I think I should probably just kind of show you guys, just so you can kind of get the full extent of what she now allegedly looks like.
Oh God, yeah, this is the story that that Jessica Yaniv has legally changed their name to Jessica Simpson.
That's correct. So, so this apparently happened a couple of weeks ago. Yaniv no longer just being, like, what I find very strange with this is a seasoned Yanivologist, because there is another thing which Yaniv has done, which I'll touch on in a minute. But just before we go on to that, what I find very interesting with Yaniv is that throughout his life, Yaniv has always wanted infamy. He's wanted fame, and he's something which, judging by his actions over the last year, it's something that he's clearly craved. So he really, really likes that attention. But now he's he's called himself Jessica Simpson, no doubt inspired by the actual singer. And
it's weird. It's a weird, outdated reference, though. Jessica Simpson has put out an album in like 15 years.
Yeah. Well, she hasn't. But what else could be interesting with this? I saw someone mention this on Twitter earlier, that Yaniv could be doing this as a way to kind of hide themselves online. So, if people were to type in Jessica Simpson, because official news stories would be using the Jessica Simpson name rather than Jessica Yaniv. I think his thinking could be, well, if he hides his name behind a big celebrity, he's not going to be as easily traceable. I mean, you simply type in Yaniv into Google and all the stories about the ball waxing and the tampons, these are very, very easily findable. Like you type Yaniv onto YouTube, and it just instantly brings up Blair White. It brings up me. It brings up Calvin Garrett. It brings up like all these like different YouTubers talking about this monstrosity.
Here's the problem that I foresee, and I've been thinking about this ever since you told me about the whole name change thing. That I think what they're doing is also a gambit to say that anyone calling them Jessica or Jonathan Yaniv is quote unquote dead naming them, even if they do use the term Yaniv, because they've changed their name now. And that is technically against the rules on Twitter, and it's technically against the rules on YouTube. Yeah, if you look at how they've changed their two S's. So this might be an attempt to, one, obfuscate who they are, and two, when people talk about who they actually are, they'll try and get the videos taken down. Yeah,
that would make sense. Like I don't know how strictly they would keep. The likes of YouTube would act over a surname change as opposed to a feminine forename change. Like certainly from Jonathan to Jessica, YouTube and Twitter have shown. Twitter in particular has shown that they can be very, very strict on it. It will be interesting to see whether that is Yaniv's angle. I mean, I'm just going to continue to call him Yaniv. Okay, I'm not calling him Jessica Simpson. That's stupid.
That would be legitimizing like anything that he is, and I take no issue with calling him he. Like I would go as far as to call him Jonathan, because that's really who he is. This is all done in the service of him gaining infamy and preying on the people who he likes to prey on. Which, in terms of racial abuse, it tends to be minorities, and in terms of sexual gratification, tends to be teenage girls.
Yeah. But the reason why I wanted to talk about Yaniv is this was sent over to me on Twitter this morning. I know quite a few people wanted me to talk about this. I didn't want to do an individual video. Although I've no doubt that just simply commenting on this, I'm going to have loads of ContraPoint simps being, "Oh, you're obsessed with Yaniv," because
maybe they just stop doing retarded shit then, eh?
Well, exactly, exactly. Like as I keep on trying to explain to people, the reason why I talk about Yaniv is because Yaniv is the end product of a lot of the types of activism that trans activists actually push. By their own ideas that there is no such thing as biological sex, there should have been no issue with Yaniv getting his balls waxed. But that is the logical end point when you say that these genitals don't dictate your sex or your gender or anything about you. That this you end up with Yaniv, and as bad as Yaniv is, it is the ultimate logical conclusion. That's why there needs to be some sort of, responsibility from trans activists as to how Yaniv got into the position that he did. But I've talked about that lots of times. I don't want to repeat myself, but just talking about this. So Yaniv is suing the same ace petitions that he refused to wax his balls, but on top of that, the free defendants again, but specifically the free defendants in this case are the women who actually won the payouts from Yaniv.
Oh, so he's trying to re-sue the people who got the payouts?
Yes. So he claimed poverty, so was granted a fee waiver. So these are documents from the British Columbia Court. So he's
essentially getting like legal aid.
Effectively, yeah.
Ugh, the Canadian taxpayers paying for this, people.
So he has. This would have been good to get Dev's thoughts on.
Yeah,
this.
It would be, wouldn't it, Dev?
Yes. Like this is what your tax money is going towards. Like, what are your thoughts on this? Like, so yeah, this isn't like kind of huge news. But it's kind of interesting that when you combine this with the name change, like throughout the documents, Yaniv is referred to as Jessica Simpson. So this isn't so much. I don't think that this one is actually a call for attention. So I don't know what it is. I don't know why Yaniv would go down this kind of path, because I get that he's dumb, and part of him probably does think that he would win such a victory. Like he wouldn't. Like there's no way that you lose a case and then you sue the people you lost to because you have to pay them out.
Oh,
You're on camera.
I know. I was just saying hi. It's actually working for once, which is nice. So I thought I'd give people a wave. I'm in a dark room because I don't have a lamp in here. I moved it. So anyway, I'm going to get a camera now because I'm shiny.
Well, when I'm in my new place, which should be in the next couple of weeks, I'll be back on camera again because I'm going to have a whole dedicated YouTube room in my new place.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Dedicated YouTube room.
Room. Anyway, British Nights. What are your thoughts on this new Yaniv situation?
One thing I did notice that was mentioned in the chat, which I think is a good question, is doesn't Canada have double jeopardy laws? Like, should this case even be legitimate?
I think it'll probably get thrown out quite quickly because the previous case.
I mean, I think it will be as well. I mean, we could probably be seeing in a couple of days that it could be thrown out. But like, this is kind of adds on to like Yaniv has been up to a lot. There are people who have spent a lot more time kind of documenting Yaniv now than I have. Like, I've kind of taken very much a backstop to this because until we find out more about, like, I'm predicting like the next real big saga is Yaniv potentially going to jail over the assault.
Well, I took a very similar stance in that I did my video on her like September last year, and then I decided I needed to detox and forget that she ever existed. So, but she's like a bad cold. She occasionally comes back.
Yeah, like Yaniv does get up to stuff, and when there is something kind of major going on. So, say for example, I talked about the assault. I talked about the like some dodgy, very very disturbing messages that I sent to a underage girl. Although, like in that video, I did make it very clear that kind of what that girl did really should not be encouraged at all because she put herself in a very dangerous situation. Like, there are things that Yaniv has done that are kind of notable, and it's kind of like almost like a Chris Chan figure in some ways, but it's because of what he represents.
I almost said that Yaniv is the trans Christian, but then I remembered, and now I feel bad again. And with that, I think probably move on if there's nothing else you guys have to say about Yaniv.
I
am generally Yaniv'd out, but
I just want to forget that this person ever existed. I would if I never hear about Jessica Yaniv again or Jessica Simpson or whatever other name they use, it will be too soon.
But before we go on to the last topic, I can see that a couple of super chats did come in earlier. So Mitch with the £2. Alright, lads, how you like?
Stop trying to be Geordie, Mitch. Stop it.
Mitch, please.
Just because I'm just because I live in the northeast doesn't mean I have the accent, weirdo.
And my Felicita with 20 DKK. Love to the Rose of Dawn. Love to the Rose of Discord crowd. Yeah, like the link to Discord is in the links down below. So like come and join. I'm really trying to organize gaming nights. Like I really want to play Fall Guys with people. I want to play Sea of Thieves as well, because I've really got into Fall Guys and Sea of Thieves, and I want to kind of like stream it all on Twitch. So if you're interested,
Fall Guys is great. You guys should, if you guys haven't checked that already, Fall Guys is a really fun game to watch and a really fun game to play. So
yeah,
I've never touched either of them.
Fall Guys, I'm absolutely loving Fall Guys. Like it's such a relaxing game to play. Like I think I've only won the crown in it once, but I'm okay with that. Like I normally get to like the third or fourth round anyway. So like I do fine. And Sea of Thieves is a lot of fun as well.
Yes, it is.
It's only 16 quid on Steam. Nice.
What is Fall Guys?
Yeah. It's only 16 quid on Steam.
Pick it up and then come join the Rose of Discord fun nights. Like we'll stream it on Twitch. We'll have a hangout in the Discord, and it'll just be like, it won't be like a politics thing or anything. It's just going to be just chilling, hanging out and stuff. It'll be fun. But yeah, and one last kind of plug, just to remind everyone, like if you want a little seal logo by your name in the chat and you want access to a few special seal emojis, you can become a member of the Rose of Dawn channel, and you get the seal. You get a seal of approval, in fact. But with that, it's time to move on to the last topic, the big story, which is, of course, Kenosha. So, Scrump, when we were talking before, you said that you've been trying to follow everything which has been happening in Kenosha, but like there's been quite a lot happening.
Oh God, we should probably start at the beginning.
Yes, I think that'll be a good place to start.
It's all right. I had it up earlier. The guy's name, it was Jacob Blake, the guy who was shot. And what happened at first was, if you've got a story there at all, I don't know if you have a timeline or.
So I don't have a timeline for the protest. The only thing I have a timeline for it is the actual Rittenhouse shooting people.
Ah, right. Okay. So the one with the mobile gunman, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. So the follow-up shooting.
Yeah.
This all started when someone called Jacob Blake was shot, and he's not dead. There is conflicting rumors of whether he is paralyzed or not. He was shot 7 times by police. There's footage of it, as there usually is, of him returning to his vehicle. Yes, please put the calming seals on, but this is quite a heavy story.
Yes.
The initial story about Jacob Blake was that he was a good guy, didn't do nothing, and he pulled over with his kids in the car to break up a fight. And the police were called to the fight, and he tragically got shot somehow. That is the official story of what happened. That is not what happened. That is nowhere near what happened. The only footage we saw of is him brawling with police briefly, and then storming back to his car under instruction not to get back to his car, and then being shot. Again, this guy isn't dead. It turned out he is someone who has 2, I think, warrants out of his arrest. One of which is for sexual intercourse with a minor. The police were aware of his arrest, and they were called to an incident involving him. A woman had complained that he had stolen some of her property, and that is what the police were responding to. So the police were responding to a call about him, and they were aware of his 2, I think, outstanding warrants, one of which was for a violent offense and one of which was for a sexual offense. So they're already on edge with this guy. So he's a guy with prior outstanding warrants who has had the police called for, allegedly stealing a woman's property. This is not, I repeat, not someone who pulled over to break up a fight on the side of the road, as was initially and very widespread reported. And it's amazing. It's amazing that this has developed as far as it has. It feels like what happened previously in Wisconsin with George Floyd. It feels like what happened in. With Trayvon Martin, it's a fast developing story where the initial version of the story seems to come first, even if facts to the contrary seem to come out.
Yeah,
and that was the inciting incident here. And I honestly don't think that the newspapers as well have been very deceptive. They've said that he was only armed with a knife. He was unarmed apart from the knife was one of them. Unarmed apart from knife. No, seriously.
Jesus Christ. That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, like, hell, I'm sure in a bit we're going to be getting to the wonderful CNN tagline during some some peaceful.
I've seen a lot of variants of that lately. My favorite one was mostly peaceful space station scene of the planet.
Oh yeah. The mostly peaceful memes are all great. Yeah. They've been long running for a long time, but that's what's been reported here. But
yeah, so this has turned into like a yet another string of riots, which is just. Basically, it just seems almost like any kind of excuse just to keep it on. I think it's into like the 90 odd days now.
Yes, we are. We might end up with 100 days, basically 100 solid days of rioting in blue areas, in these Democrat
areas.
It is what it is. It's these Democrat cities that is really the only place where this is happening. Kenosha again is a Democrat city and a Democrat state, Democrat mayor, Democrat governor.
Yeah. So some of the peaceful. I'll show one story I've seen of like how wonderful, like how peaceful some of these protesters are. Like some of them peacefully broke into a store and broke the jaw of an elderly man. In like a mostly peaceful shopping trip out of hours. So there's been plenty of people who have kind of fallen victim to this mob. But the real kind of story and what I really wanted to talk about, and probably one of the most controversial things that I've talked about on this channel, is of course the very kind of recent shooting. So I found a very good Twitter thread about. So the shooter in question is Kyle Rittenhouse, who's 17 years old. He apparently had traveled out of town to defend, saying that he was there to defend. I believe it was a garage or like a car dealership. And
there's a story from the previous. Sorry, there's a story from the previous night in Fox News here that shows that protesters were specifically targeting used car lots. They had attacked, I think, 2 dealerships previous night, and they burnt 140 cars. So that's a lot of property damage there. So,
yes, and there was the.
It seems like they were deliberately targeting.
Yeah, so there we go. So Kenosha riot. So it's Kenosha. Kenosha rioters target car dealerships, other businesses, and second rights and all the rest. 140 vehicles available for sale prior to destruction. I remember seeing a clip of a man being interviewed afterwards. I believe like one of his cars were one of the ones that got destroyed, and he was like, "Oh yeah, carry on burning the cars until you get justice." And it's like, well, they're never going to get justice because they haven't defined what the justice is even going to be. So they're just going to continue to burn cars.
No, it's another dubious kind of accusation of police brutality, and it's another incident of mass rioting and business owners basically, being almost beaten to death in some cases. It's been horrific. Again.
Yeah. So that is a bit of a background.
Anyway,
what happened. And so I just want to go through this thread. For some reason it wasn't loading up all the tweets. Okay, hopefully it loads up the thread. Here we go. So this is a really good thread, actually. It's like he does miss off a couple of things, but he mostly gets a lot of the details in it right. So Kyle Rittenhouse was interviewed prior to, like, a few hours before the shooting, said he was protecting a local vehicle dealership with several other armed men. He offers medical assistance to protesters. He's around that area, but 15 minutes before they drove past, they thanked the group he's with. He goes over to a police vehicle and they give him some water. He leaves the dealership, but the police say he can't return there. Then there's multiple pieces of footage which I don't think I could play because it will could get the video taken down.
It most probably will. Do not play those on here.
Yeah. So I'll just describe what happens in them. So in one of the first clip, which seems to be going on, which involves him shooting and killing the first rioter, what you see is Rittenhouse running away as a man chases him and then throws something. But before that, like in this particular clip here, someone in the background shoots a pistol. Like in this clip here, you can actually see basically, like the little explosion-y thingy coming out of the gun, and so it lights up.
Yeah, you see the muzzle flash, is what you see.
Yeah, you see the flash. So someone who isn't Rittenhouse shoots a pistol. They don't know who that is. So he runs toward the sound of the gunfire. Another pursuer lunges him. He then fires 4 times with his assault rifle and appears to shoot the man in the head. So what they seem to be kind of missing here is the Molotov. Allegedly, people are saying Molotov, but when it's thrown, I'm not seeing, maybe I don't know what Molotovs are actually like, so I don't see loads of fire. But the person who pursues him does throw something. I don't know whether it is a Molotov, but
it's conflicted as to whether it was some kind of fire-based explosive like a Molotov, or whether it was just a like a bottle or something like semi-transparent that caught the light.
like it's something that breaks, but like
Yeah.
after it lands, you don't really see any flames. Like if it was a Molotov cocktail, you would expect to see flames. But
Maybe they didn't light it properly. I don't know. But he had an object thrown at him that probably he couldn't identify either.
yeah, like he's running away. So this man throws something at him. Like, so he is chasing, bearing in mind, you're this guy, you got this thing, you see someone with a gun, you chase after them and throw something at them. Something you're clearly intending to hurt them. But then Rittenhouse turns around, sees him, chasing him. He then fires 4 times with an assault rifle and shoots the man in the head. Now, this man, let me just pause the story there so you get a good idea of the one of the brave heroes who went down. So Andy Go reported on it. So Joseph Rosenbaum, he was a registered sex offender for a sex crime involving a minor. And it's important to note that that is a file that was on there for life.
He's a very serious. It was also noted as well that he was kept in. His records seem to indicate he was also a violent offender.
Yes. It is like I saw a few people try and downplay it, being like, "Oh, well, it was in Arizona, so of course they would, put a strict sentence on it." But it doesn't. Of course, it doesn't change the fact that he was a registered sex offender for a sex crime involving a minor. And I don't think there's any kind of like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad of a child rape." Like, no, it's like he was not a pleasant man. There is apparently a video that people are saying is him, where he says, like, "Come on, shoot me," and then he uses the N-word, which is interesting for someone to do at a BLM.
The thing is, he might just be a criminal. He might just be a career criminal. He might just be someone who was out looting and wanted to attack somebody.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We don't know who a lot of these people are. A lot of the people are taking advantage of this chaos, this vacuum of civility, I guess.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. And it does seem to be self-defense in the moment, but as we said earlier, Kyle Ritter, is it Kyle? No, it's not. Is it Kyle Ritter, the guy who's
It is
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yes.
Rittenhouse, that's it. Kyle Rittenhouse. Sorry, my thing had cut off there. And he is someone who is 17 and couldn't have. The thing is, he couldn't have legally purchased the firearm, but he technically, I don't know. There's some states he could legally own it, but he couldn't cross state lines with it. It's kind of a legal, I wouldn't say gray area, but it's not looking good for his possession of the firearm, I would say. Unless the circumstances are extremely specific, he shouldn't have had that firearm in that place. But noting what's happened within the videos, a lot of people are making very, very, very clear cases here that this was self-defense. He should maybe be charged with wrongful possession of a weapon. He should maybe be charged with other things, because he definitely shouldn't have been there. But at the same time, like what Tucker Carlson said, what did you expect to happen? Like this was going to happen eventually if communities weren't going to be protected. Yeah. So this is only the first part of the incident. I'm getting ahead of myself.
We'll go through the other parts and then we'll get into that, because I think there's especially the whole Tucker Carlson part of it, which I think is quite interesting, and the way people have reacted to him. So throughout here, it says it's unclear why he was being chased. We know vehicles were damaged minutes before the first shooting. It was 4 blocks away from the one he was supposed to be protecting, rather. There are 3 more shots, but nobody knows who they are. Then he flees the scene and he's chased by several people. He trips and falls to the ground and fires 4 shots as 3 people rush him. One person appears to be hit in the chest, while another, who is carrying a handgun, is hit in the arm. Now, the person who is hit in the chest is the second person in Andy's list. And this person, I want to bring a little bit of attention to, because this is kind of a bit of a weird situation. So the second person is Anthony Huber, So what happened, rather than them just rushing the teenager who's on the floor and then shoots them, he actually attempts to hit him with a skateboard. I think he actually does. Yeah, he does make contact with a skateboard whilst this guy with a gun is on the floor. So he is shot in the chest. What they mention is that he has a criminal history, including charges of battery and repeat domestic abuse. Now, he is currently being held up as a hero by some quite interesting groups. I mean, like, he seems to be kind of considered almost a hero at the moment. But GoFundMe, let me just share with you GoFundMe's.
I saw this, yes.
So GoFundMe said, here is the verified GoFundMe to support the family of Anthony Huber, the hero who gave his life attempting to take down a gunman in Kenosha and save others. All funds will be sent to his partner and stepdaughter. That there, Robin Hood. Is this one the pedo or the wife beater?
Wife beater, yeah.
Of course, Greenwood Outlaws there. Of course, he's the first one.
I will say now that kind of we've reached the find out part of fuck around and find out is what's happening here.
That's what I was going to say. They fucked around and they found out.
Well, one of the other aspects of this, I'll probably go into it afterwards, but there's a great ironic twist here once we go through the actual events.
Yes. So this is just a list of the different things which he had been in trouble with the police for, including there are guilty pleas for false imprisonment and strangulation and suffocation. Part of domestic abuse, use of a dangerous weapon. Bearing again, this is who GoFundMe is declaring a hero. The footage itself, we don't know what was going through his head at the time. You don't know whether he was doing that because he thought that this was you don't know. You don't know whether he was you don't kind of know. But to say that this is such a, it was such a fast situation. You have someone who clearly was acting in self-defense, but I think what a lot of people will be trying to argue is that Huber was also trying to act in self-defense as well, in the kind of the mayhem. But as far as whether that would ever go anywhere, I can't really say, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, let's keep going with the chronology though.
Yes. So then the last person to be shot survived. So it's Gage Grosskreutz.
No idea.
Oh, he's of Germanic descent.
He's a member of the People's Revolution movement. He was filmed chasing after the teen with a pistol. He was shot at close range in the upper arm. He has a criminal record, includes being intoxicated and armed with a gun. So that's the photo where he had been shot in the arm with him holding a gun. That's another picture which seems to be kind of doing the rounds. So now that the shooter has been arrested, and I believe he's been charged with first-degree murder.
I don't think they'll ever get him on that. It's like with the cops as well.
I don't think.
I don't think the cops in the, especially the Georgia case, the one in Atlanta, neither of those are going to jail. Even with the way the prosecutor is there, that is going to be a huge mistrial if they do try and do that. With the evidence we've got with the fentanyl, I honestly don't think that, apart from maybe tax charges, anyone involved in the George Floyd case may not even see prison time for involvement in that incident. The case, a lot of people being overcharged. I don't think people realize this. That's how George Zimmerman walked completely free.
Yes,
because he was overcharged. The district got greedy.
Yeah, that's something which happens a lot, and so it's a blatant overcharging of the situation. I think it's fair to have a discussion, and I'm sure we'll kind of touch on what Carlson said about why was a 17-year-old present with a gun from another state. Of course, you can also make similar arguments about the Antifa rioters who have been traveling from state to state to get involved in arson.
It's two groups of people who shouldn't be there. It's two people who shouldn't. He shouldn't have been there, and they shouldn't have been there rioting and burning down. Armed and burning down car lots.
Yes, like
it's kind of a tit for tat thing.
It is, but where do you start the question in this? Where does the first question come in? Is it he shouldn't have been there, but then of course if he hadn't been there, these people would still be destroying things that that other violence could have occurred, but then like if they where do you? It's quite difficult to really say. I think a lot of people within this situation that are in the wrong. I think people purely holding this kid up as a hero. Whilst I can kind of understand why people might be thinking that, especially with this kind of narrative of like abolish the police, but don't defend yourself. And effectively, one of the big arguments which we are seeing is if someone is chasing you down and throwing stuff at them, and you have a gun, by all means, do not defend yourself against them. Which is quite a worrying like kind of call to make. It's just let them beat you up. It's not worth taking their life, but it'd be fine if they take yours. But at the same time, should he really have why was a 17-year-old feeling like he had to be there? Like, did someone take him there and make him go there? Did he decide to just do it on his own accord? But it says a lot about how the rioting is now being seen, that people also feel that they have no choice but to get involved in this way. And that's what Carlson was talking about.
I don't know. British Knight, what are your thoughts? It is like a litmus test here. What are your thoughts on the wrong and rights of this? Like, where do you think blame lies? It's a hard one to call.
I honestly don't think... I honestly think there's no one in this situation who's completely blameless. No. But at the end of the day, I honestly think the one person who comes out of this the best is the defendant, is the kid who was defending himself. And I do think, and I'm not going to shed a tear over a domestic abuser and a paedophile getting yeeted from existence in self-defense.
It's the thing is, on a legal level, and the situation he was in and what he did to get there, what Kyle did was objectively wrong.
Yes.
But intuitively, with what we see, he is the most sympathetic. That is, I think, is the most both interesting and both slightly disturbing thing about this is that he is by far the easiest to sympathize with. So much so, he's becoming almost somewhat of a folk hero in the US, even though, it's quite clear that he's in the wrong in some ways. He's not an innocent party in this at all.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of pictures of him being represented in the sort of synthwave "Don't Let Evil Take Root" memes that have been going around over the past couple of days.
So people are trying to kind of idolize him in a way, and that is going to be spun as like, oh, he is a white. We have already seen the accusations that he was a white supremacist, and when they try and put that, oh, he supported Trump and said Blue Lives Matter. He's not okay, but that a white supremacist does not make.
He's a symptom of the lawlessness that's been going on. And what I wanted to talk about earlier is that a lot of people, as soon as this happened, people were screaming, call the police.
Yes.
And rightfully, I think, even though people got shot, even though people died, people are laughing at them because these are the people who are rioting, stealing, and saying abolish the police and thinking they could do it with impunity. But as soon as someone comes out and challenges their violence, meets their violence with violence, as soon as the other side of the argument responds in kind, they are immediately shrieking for the authorities to intervene because they know that they are, politically at least in this area, in control of that situation. They know at any point they can ask the police to come back in because this is their show. It's kind of it's a real demonstration of the fact that they know they aren't playing on a level playing field. And they think, as soon as things get too real for them, they want the police back.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing, though. I think the very reason a kid like that was there in the first place, whether he was in the right or wrong, is because he is become very aware at a very young age, a very impressionable age, that the people like him, people who respect property rights, people who love his country and just want to do right by people and don't want to see people's homes and livelihoods get burned down by this violent mob, they're not going to get any help from the police. At least in these blue states, they are on their own, and so you can understand why an impressionable kid would get this idea that, well, if the police aren't going to help them, I must.
It's fascinating. We're in a situation where a 17-year-old can go into a situation where you can argue that they are seeking violence. You can make a decent argument for that because they have put themselves in this situation, but the circumstances surrounding it have become so out of control that people are now welcoming that, and that is I right and wrong here. I don't think is even the discussion. The discussion is how did we get to this place? Because this is I know there's been the whole pandemic and everything's gone fucking nutty on its head, but it's amazing that we've reached this point where literally someone can gun down a guy's Black Lives Matter supporters, rioters, depending on what your point of view is, but that there can be street extrajudicial street violence from someone who's essentially a vigilante, and arguably a majority of the nation can cheer because of the situation that they're in. It's just, it's mind-blowing.
I don't want to be cynical, but I've heard one of the big theories I've heard is that this is essentially being allowed to happen because it's an election year, and and they want it to reflect poorly on Trump because he's obviously
very
president.
much so. That's not a cynical conspiracy theory. That's just what's happening.
And and a lot of people think quite cynically that should Trump win again come November, this will all just be shut down by the police overnight.
Oh, probably
because it's no longer politically expedient for them to let their towns and cities get burned down by violent mobs. Where now it serves a purpose to the Democrats, even if it is incredibly misguided as a political strategy.
John S. in the chat makes a good point. He says, Trump said he could murder someone on the streets of New York and the people would love him. And you know what? He was correct at this point. Yeah. Trump could walk down fucking Main Street in New York, gunning down protesters, and his approval rating would probably go up. Yes. This is where we are now.
I'm just imagining a Trump leading they can take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom charge down fucking down in the middle of Manhattan, just with freaking police and with even live firearms. I wanted to say
the thing is, you'll see Tim Pool right behind him with his roller painting the 14 words as he wants.
It'd just be amazing to actually see Trump run, because I think I remember him saying that he tries to minimize the amount of exercise he does because he believes that his heart only has so many beats, so he doesn't want to waste any of his heartbeats by doing exercise. But maybe charging protests, maybe that's a worthy cause for the God Emperor. You'll risk kind of dying a few minutes early.
Well, I'm gonna have to probably go in a few minutes, but we should touch on the Tucker Carlson thing before that, I think.
Yes, we should. So, what did you think of Tucker Carlson?
Honestly, I what is being said has been blown out of proportion.
Yes.
I think he was very right. And what he was saying is what I was saying is, what did you think would happen? And that this is going to happen more and more, armed citizens taking charge of their own situations. And, people would rather gamble, I think, with a murder trial than be murdered on the street. That's the calculation people are making. And the more lawless they get and the more police departments pull out and even rely on militia, because the police departments come in for criticism with cooperating with the militia. But what are they supposed to do? How are they supposed to regain control of the streets? This could be a major move, I think, in the escalation of all this happening. But like Tucker Carlson said, what are people supposed to? This is the last option. A lot of people feel that they have. No matter how reality is, they feel like this is their only option, and that's what Tucker Carlson was trying to get across. He wasn't glorifying the shooter. He wasn't glorifying what he did. He was just saying that this is the logical extension of the situation that the rioters and the Democrats have put people in. And he is being crucified for it.
Oh, God,
Basically, all he said was, hey, if you're going to attack people's businesses, their livelihoods, their homes, and the police aren't going to help and they have a means of defending themselves, they're going to do it. And people are going to die as a result. And that's ultimately on the people who chose to riot and who chose to riot and destroy people's homes and livelihoods in the first place.
The thing is, if Kyle hadn't, been 17 and, crossed state lines as he did, if he had been someone who had lived in the area and was defending his own business, I don't think they would have even charged him.
No,
like
No,
I honestly don't think they would have charged him. He's kind of he's done the right thing in the wrong place under the wrong circumstances. I think his self-defense was legitimate, but his reason for being in that situation in the first place is extremely suspect.
Yeah. I honestly think he will get arrested. I don't think he'll get arrested. I think he'll end up getting a slap on the wrist.
No, he's been charged, but I don't think he'll be convicted. I think
that's what I mean.
On a weapons charge. They could probably get him on a weapons charge, but on a he's going to beat a first-degree murder rap, I think. If they try and get him with first degree, no, never happening.
Yeah, I think ultimately he'll get he and his parents might get a fine. Maybe he might serve in juvenile for maybe 6 months or something. I don't think it'll be major.
No. So does anyone have anything else to add? Kind of Scrump, I know you need to run fairly soon. So does anyone have anything else that they want to add on this story before we move on to some good news?
No, I think we've pretty much summed it up. What about you, Scrump?
No, I have nothing more to say on that, really. It's kind of an evolving situation, too, so...
Well, so Scrump, did you have any good news for us this week?
I did actually find some good news. I'd set it aside and forgotten about it, but it is actually from it says from last week, but it was brought out on the day that our show came out, I think last week.
Right.
So I didn't actually see it then, but it seems that species we think were extinct are not extinct. And that a lot of within the past 3 years, within the past 2 years, they've rediscovered 5 animals on the 25 lost species list now. I mean, in 2020, this year they found the Somali Singali, which is a little elephant rat looking. It's amazing. It's a little shrew thing. They're so cute. That's down there at number 5, but there's the Jackson's climbing salamander, which looks really high. If you look at that there, oh dear, no, it's pretty good. I think I sent you a link.
Yes, you did. Yes,
sorry, that's not. Sorry,
you're just kind of chuckling along, like, oh, look at him, and I'm like, I can't.
Get him up. Anyway, here's some good news.
Okay,
look
so
at the animals that aren't actually dead.
Look at Jackson's climbing salamander.
He's so high, bro. Look at him. He doesn't know where he is.
Wallace's giant bee. I love that name.
They can keep that one, yeah.
It's just Wallace's bee. Velvet pitcher plant. Yay. Oh, look at him though. Silver-backed chevrotain.
Yes, a little deer boy. Look at his little. I bet he's tiny.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, and Sengi. I love those.
They're so cute.
Yeah, they run really fast. Like, they have these little burrow. Like, basically, they make these little trenches, which they use to run around. They just run. They spend their days just kind of running around their own circuits.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they are really, really cute.
Sonic the Sengi.
Yeah.
Yes, they race a lot. They're professional racists.
So now is the time to vote on who you believe had the best the best takes of the week. So the link to the thingy. The thingy
does it still have Dev on it?
It does, yes.
Oh god, that's funny.
Last time I checked, he was winning.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
So vote for who you think. Then Scrump disappeared. But anyway, whilst you're all voting, I think it's time to show off the seal of the week, because of course there's a seal of the week, and it is this seal. You've sealed your fate. Over-eager seal called Sally is escorted out of Norfolk Broads after surprising paddleboarders as yet another of the creatures causes mischief this summer. So, basically, the UK is just being there's just seals. Just look at it. Get it up. Get it up.
Zoom in on that.
They're just getting up to all sorts of mischief. The seals.
That last one's amazing. Look at it. He's like, what?
It's just like they just want him to come and say hello and be like, "Have you got any fibs?" And then people will give them fibs. Like I just kind of absolutely love this at the moment. That the UK is just kind of like being bombarded with just mischievous seals, getting up to all sorts of mischief everywhere they go. Like I just think it's absolutely lovely. Like, you know, if you watch it, I mean, hell, the show is called Seal of Approval. I mean, you all know how much I love these animals, and
Seals are great.
They are absolutely great. They are lovely, lovely, lovely animals. So let's see how the votes are getting on. So we've got 20 votes so far. If we could just get a few more votes on that, because at the moment there is a bit of a tie. So yeah, if just a few more of you vote. It won't allow me to vote for VPN blocking. Huh?
Oh, it does that sometimes.
Oh, right. I got confused there. I thought that you actually wanted to place a vote. Skoda sponsors seals. I mean, like, maybe the woman in a hydro force.
Oh, dear. Come on, guys. It's back in the chat, so do vote. Do vote.
Okay, and so with that, I am ready to show the results. So who gets the seal of approval? Who had the best takes this week?
Oh, God damn it. You guys. I just saw it. Oh, despite not being here for the entire show, Dev Sharpfire Tiger has managed to win the seal of approval this week for not commenting. A very political decision, I will say,
Yes.
very shrewd political move there. He's pulled a Biden.
Despite making up 0% of zero approval, Shortfire Otaku makes up 32% of good takes.
Oh, good lord. He's so overrepresented, guys.
Oh, God. There's a few more super chats have come in, so thank you for those. So Jedi Knight and a Quinn Cringe Walk with $5. The kid who boomed those protesters was in fact Latino. Can't say the word on super chat.
Boomed, yes.
Boom, boom.
He gave him the old pew pew,
Rel does with the $5. Racial solidarity is ruining our society. If a white criminal is shot by cops, I cheer. On less deviant to worry about. Keep up the great content.
Fairly spicy take there.
Yeah. Thanks for enjoying the show. I would say that racial solidarity isn't ruining our society. I would probably disagree with that. But I understand, like, your point about like less criminals on the streets. I do get that. I know that was.
I think he means like. I think he means I guess racial collectivism.
Right. Okay. Racial collectivism. Yes. Okay. In that case, yeah, I do believe that that kind of racial collectivism is a bad thing. I mean, people will always like try and point like, oh well, how could you say this about this group? But white supremacy is another example of racial collectivism.
Yeah.
So, is that a good thing all of a sudden? No. But anyway, with that, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. There's actually quite a few more viewers this week than usual. It might have been because
Dev wasn't here. Yeah.
Yeah. God damn it.
Thanks, Dev.
Yeah, but that was like the third time we tried to get him in.
I have tried to move heaven and earth. And it's just not possible. We are cursed. We are cursed to be devils.
Right, yeah, we're gonna try and find. I'm gonna try and find a way to get him on this channel in one way or another. He's getting on. Like
we'll probably have to do it via Discord.
Turns up eventually.
Is Sargon?
It's like at least when Sargon comes on a stream, at least he gets in eventually.
Yeah, at least he gets in eventually.
At least Sargon kind of has like the label of being King Boomer, but not got quite at the level of Dev.
No, Dev is the hidden boomer. He's stealth boomer.
Well, yeah. We're going to try and get Sargon on at some point. Think really we just need to get Dev on. We've been literally that was the third time
Anyway,
I think
yes.
Taku was the most reasonable. He said nothing I disagree with. Oh, Christ. Anyway, so with that, just before we go, one last thing. I do apologize that there wasn't a video this week. I have been quite busy as I'm sorting out a move to a new flat. So that's kind of had to take a little bit of precedent over everything else. But new video will be coming out next week. But apart from that, I want to give a special thank you to British Knight for coming on.
Thank you for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure as always.
Yes, thank you very much for coming over tonight.
Yeah, and I want to also go thank you to Short Fat Otaku.
Yes, for not coming in and polluting us with your Canadianness. We must be pure. We must be pure and leafless.
And finally, of course, special thanks to my trusty co-host Scrumb. Thanks,
Yes.
Scrumb.
Oh, thanks to me.
And so next seal of approval will be back next Wednesday. Sophia Norwitz is going to be coming on. I haven't confirmed any other guests just yet. Probably not Dev. But,
Microphone won't work.
But yeah, so the seal of approval will be moving back to the usual time next week. It's just because I've been moving and stuff. But otherwise, thanks everyone for tuning in. Come and join the Discord. Everyone come join the Discord and we'll do Discord things and we'll play Fall Guys. It'll be fun. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in and we'll see you all next time.
See you next. Bye.
Bye-bye.